This is the plaintiff, Jill Lewis. She says she hired the defendant to record an audiobook which would meet the technical requirements of iTunes and Amazon, and the product he delivered to her failed the requirements and she wasted her hard-earned money. She gave the guy 3 tries to correct the problem. Each time her audiobook was rejected, and she's here in the name of justice, suing for the $900 she wasted. This is the defendant, Orlando Hall. He says the plaintiff simply doesn't understand the process of being in a recording studio and all that goes into the final product. She bought 30 hours worth of time but got impatient and didn't allow him the proper time to mix the audiobook correctly. Well, he's sorry, but he was ready, willing, and able to complete the job. The plaintiff pulled out early, and he owes nothing. He's accused of making too much noise.
All parties, please raise your right hands.
Welcome back to the People's Court. Next case in the docket, the plaintiff hired the defendant to record a book that could be put on iTunes, but the guy didn't do it right. The defendant says she's just impatient. It's the case of booking it.
Thank you, Douglas. Jill Lewis,
Yes.
You are suing Area 51 Enterprise LLC, represented here by Orlando Hall. You're the owner, for $900 that you want returned to you because, according to you, he could not produce what it is he was hired to produce. Tell me what we're talking about here.
So, Judge, I was in the process of self-publishing my first business book called Selling to Heroes, Villains, and Geeks. And I was planning on selling it.
What's it about?
It is about how to become a vendor at anime, sci-fi, and comic conventions. If you're selling plushies or figures or posters.
What could be more specific than, okay. Okay.
And
how did you get into all this?
Well, I've always been a big Japanese anime fan. It's big business.
No, I'm sure it is.
Vendors, they are a big part of any anime or comic convention, and you can have hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of vendors, and you'll have 10,000, 20,000, 50,000 people running through the vendor room buying stuff.
Wow, okay. So
I was in the process of self-publishing, selling to heroes, vendors, and geeks, and I wanted to sell it on Amazon in 3 formats: as an ebook, a paperback, and an audiobook. And in order to sell an audiobook on Amazon, you have to go through their sole distributor, which is ACX. And for ACX to accept your audiobook, you have to meet the requirements regarding production values.
okay.
So I was going to be the narrator, and I needed a recording studio located where I live, so I posted the job on Thumbtack.
When you posted it, did you explain everything you just explained to me?
I explained that it was an ebook and it had to meet ACX requirements.
Okay, is that accurate?
Yes, actually.
Okay, go ahead.
So several recording studios responded, and I spoke to Orlando, and I eventually hired Orlando. And I sent him an email with a link to ACX webpage, which lists out the requirements, as well as a contract from ACX.
Do you have that email?
Yes.
May I see it? Is there a written contract between the two of you?
Yes, there is.
May I see that too?
Yes.
And do you have a copy of the contract?
No, unfortunately, I don't.
What's the point of having a contract if you're not going to keep the copy of it? The whole idea behind a contract is to memorialize what the agreement is in case it comes up later. It came up later.
The contract didn't have to do with the money.
Listen to me. I'll decide that.
Okay.
If you have a contract in a case and you're being sued on a contract, I suggest you walk in with a contract because it makes you look unprofessional. Strike one. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. All right. So go ahead.
So on the email, you will see that Orlando replied that yes, he could meet the requirements, and regarding the contract, that he would sign the contract when I came into the studio.
Okay. This contract that I'm looking at, who authors this contract? Who gave you this contract to sign?
So ACX has several contract templates online.
Ah.
So I pulled the contract that applied to my specific requirements.
Wow. Okay. So clearly, the contract between the two of you was actually authored by ACX, so there's no confusion that ACX has to approve. Okay, go ahead.
Okay, so originally I thought I was just going to need 10 hours, but when it was all said and done, I needed to buy 3 packages or 30 hours for $900. So we went in, we recorded the book, we had a good time. Orlando is a lovely person, and I really enjoyed working with him. And after it was finished, he delivered the audiobook. I uploaded the audiobook to ACX, and it was rejected. It turned out it did not meet any of their requirements.
Can I see, did they reject it in writing?
Yes.
May I see their rejection?
The book was rejected 3 times, so I'm going to give you the 3 emails showing
Okay.
that the book was rejected 3 times, as well as the reasons why.
When it gets rejected, do they send you an email or him an email or both of you?
So what happened is they sent me an email, and then I subsequently sent Orlando an email. I just copy and pasted all of the reasons why the book was rejected. And the main reason was that there was this buzzing sound throughout the entire 5 hours of the narration.
So, okay, who reads here? Who reads books in one form or another? Okay, you qualify.
Yeah.
What's better, reading or listening to a book on tape?
Listening on tape, I think, because it's more convenient. If you have places to go in the car, you can listen to it anytime.
Fair enough. Who disagrees? Old school.
Yeah, I like reading a real book. I feel like I'm less distracted by other things that are going on.
Paper or Kindle?
Paper.
Ah, wow, you are old school. Even I don't do that, going inside the courtroom.
So there's the buzzing sound, there's the spacing requirements, which had been specified that said you have to end each chapter, I guess, with a certain amount of dead time so
Yes.
that they can, all right, and then that the title does not meet editing requirements. So you get this, and what do you do?
Well, originally what happened was after we finished the recording, like she said, she was thoroughly pleased with the experience. She wrote me a great review, which I have here as part of the as the evidence. See, the requirement, the contract was not actually about the recording. The contract was about the specifications. There's certain numbers of loudness levels.
Okay, why was it rejected?
Well, it was rejected.
If you understood it, why was it rejected? Because apparently you may have understood it, but your execution did not follow your understanding because it got rejected. There was a buzzing sound throughout the recording, correct?
Right. It was a light. It was a feedback of a fluorescent light.
How do you not know that? This is your business.
I understand that.
Okay,
and-
so she's not a jerk. She doesn't say, give me my money back. She says, okay, I'll give you a chance to correct it. And you correct it. How do you correct it?
I corrected it by EQing and actually removing the volume of the noise.
What's EQing?
Basically, you take an equalizer and you find the frequency, the offending frequency. In this particular term, it was about 60 hertz or so, which is the standard emission of a light, or maybe like a TV when it's off. So I lowered that, submitted it.
Okay, so that should do it.
They rejected it
Why?
because they said it was still too loud.
Okay.
So then
Then is she a jerk then and says, give my money back? Or she give you a second chance to fix it?
No, I totally.
Okay, how is it that this lady doesn't deserve her money back? They rejected it how many times?
3 times.
3 times. You were specifically hired to produce a piece that would be that met their standards, and you were specifically rejected from meeting their standards. They said, no, this doesn't meet our standards 1, 2, 3 times. What is your defense?
My defense is that what happened was I lowered the tone in the first recording. They sent it back. Then I removed the tone completely. This is 30 chapters we're talking. I removed the tone. It came back, and they said a handful of chapters were rejected. So of the, let's say, 30 chapters, maybe 5 came back. Now I can.
Says who? Do you have something that says that?
Unfortunately, I deleted that particular
Oh, that
email.
was a really stupid idea for a businessman to do.
Well,
Especially when you know from Jump Street there's a dispute because she was demanding her money back. So you had to see the writing on the wall. So what she's showing me doesn't say anything about, oh, it almost made it. She shows me 3 rejections, my friend. And throughout the whole contract, it says what the requirements are. You couldn't get the job done. If you can't get the job done, why is this lady not entitled to her money back? Wait, let me short circuit that. She is. $900, verdict for the plaintiff, plus your court costs.
Here comes the defendant in this case.
Plaintiff gets everything.
What are you going to do now?
I don't know. I mean, I brought the actual files to listen to. Only a handful of them came back eventually. The majority of the files were accepted, and only just a handful came
Is that
back.
good enough in your book?
I could have gave her the opportunity to fix it.
All right. Head right down this way.
All right.
You could have given, why didn't you? He could have given you the opportunity to fix it, he just said. Why didn't you fix it?
It became clear to me that I was going to have to re-record the entire book to remove the background noise.
And so why'd you hire him in the first place? Why is...
No, Orlando is a lovely person. He had done a number of music CDs. He had excellent reviews on Thumbtack. So
This was just one of those things that didn't work out?
It's just one of those things.
So did you get the thing eventually recorded, and is it up anywhere?
It is. Well, the ebook and the paperback is on Amazon, selling to heroes, villains, and geeks.
Okay.
And the audiobook will be available this summer.
Okay. You got that? All right. Harvey?
Okay, Kurt, I gotta say, I mean, this seems pretty simple, that if somebody promises to do work under a contract and the other person isn't blocking their performance in some way, so they have the ability to do the work but don't, I mean, the bottom line is they don't get paid.